Hi, I'm Greg.
I'm Derek.
And I'm Steve.
Welcome to Men of the Den, and this is Monday.
Hi everyone, welcome to another week here in the den, and look who's back.
I'm back, baby.
Look who's in town!
Look who's coming to town.
That's a sex joke.
That is a sex joke. So speaking of sex jokes, not so much of a joke, but
A bad joke that nobody laughs at.
we are going to talk about consent. Because some of you sons of a bitches out there, I think, need some reminders because you've been lonely for a year and a half.
Ooh, is Greg about to get spicy?
I'll try not to get too spicy, let's put it that way. Alright, so let's talk about, so first of all, I mean, obviously there's been people that have followed the rules all along and maybe a little out of practice when it comes to consent.
And being social.
And being social and being around people because, you know, it has been a long time. That doesn't excuse consent issues, people. Forms of consent. So, when you think of consent, what do you think of, Steve?
Well, so here's what I used to think of and what I currently think of.
Mm-hmm.
So in the past, it says like, oh, I have to ask before I do everything. That's not very romantic or sexy,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of like baby's first consent, right?
It's true.
And now, like, you can make consent part of, like, foreplay, especially for those of us who are, you know, in the gay lifestyle. Like, you know, if you're coming up to a guy and you think you're hot, you're like, yeah, you want some of this, boy? And, like, give them the chance to say yes or no.
And you're like, yes, sir. Yeah.
Then that's consent, right?
That's a good point. Good point.
And so you can almost eroticize the consent process to the point where it doesn't have to be awkward.
And have it as part of the roleplay. That's actually a very good point.
Yeah, I like that one.
What do you use, Derek?
It's not even just saying yes or no, it's giving nonverbal communication.
Absolutely.
So it could be a kind of thing.
yeah.
Or it could be a little tug.
Tapping the foot.
Tapping the foot.
Yeah, so that can just be clear signs of, yes, I'm okay with this. And yes, let's go ahead.
I think in a lot of cruising situations, the non-verbal communication is actually, in some ways, might be more important than the verbal communication.
Absolutely.
Because, for example, let's use a hypothetical example that you're in a bathhouse and your door is left open.
That would be nonverbal is absolutely needed in that situation.
Absolutely.
Like,
so the right thing to do is, if you're interested in somebody in that kind of situation, you walk up to the door and you wait for the person to acknowledge you and nod you in, or do the come hither, or some motion to let you know they're interested. You don't just walk into the door and barricade yourself in with the person.
vampires don't just walk in the door; they have to be invited in first.
Wow. Yes, because that's a very threatening situation if the person is not interested in you. So that is so nonverbal, I agree, is very important. And as the person, if you're ever in question if consent is there, then you should, by all means, you should ask, because you don't want to be that person that gets called out on social media 2 weeks out later because the person did not consent. I mean, you know, it's not fair to the person, to either party, if consent is not there. So consent is important. Consent is sexy. Anything you have to add to consent conversation? Like, I guess when we're talking about consent, I mean, we may be talking about the actual act of sex, but when we're in the leather / S&M world, that becomes a
So
whole.
they take consent to the next level.
That becomes a whole nother thing, right?
Well, that's like the basis of that other thing is consent. It's such an
Absolutely.
important part of BDSM.
It's almost like, I've heard stories of people sitting down, setting up like a play session in leather, and it's like two lawyers agreeing on the contract.
Yeah.
And do you agree that you will be pulling my hair and spanking my ass, but never inserting anything to me? Oh yeah, that sounds good to me. Check that off. But it counters, the countersign party needs to agree to blah blah blah. Anyways, I'm thinking about times in my life when my consent was challenged, and they're rare. They happen. Actually, this friend of mine, we were at a bar. This is a like semi-sexy event, and he kept wanting to like pinch my nipples. I wasn't wearing a shirt, and I was not interested in it. At first, I knocked his arm away, and then he went for it again. And I think I knocked his arm away again, and then the third time I punched him in the shoulder and told him to fuck off. And then he was really, really apologetic afterwards, and we're still friends. But like, at some point,
But you don't want that awkward moment. Like, it's just easier to ask or to wait for the invitation.
Well, yes and no, right? Like, I think there's certain events that you go to that, people are going to assume that you consented to whatever, whether or not you actually have, right? So you need to be careful. You need to know what you're getting yourself into if you are going to like, some sexy bear event or something, and then
Bathos.
you need to be ready and willing to tell people to fuck off and not sweat it, right?
It's true.
Some people don't want to make a scene, but sometimes you have to be willing and able to make a scene.
I think in the gay community specifically, men don't often talk about that very often, about incidents where they haven't consented, where things are bordering on like sexual assault and in some cases rape. It's not talked about by men very often, and I think it's something that should be less taboo because
It happens.
It happens. Like literally, I was talking to a friend about this exact thing, and it was more like a who hasn't been sexually assaulted type conversation, which is kind of sad, really.
And just like how it makes you feel afterwards, it's just like, I am nothing. I am disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, I let this happen to me. I am just a failure.
It's a spiral.
Like, it's just a downward spiral of just sadness and just depression and it weighs and it stays. And that's probably the worst part of it, because it always kind of comes back, and so like little things may trigger those feelings.
I mean, I know Derek's got examples in his life. I've got multiple examples where I've run into instances like that in my life.
Yeah.
So it definitely happens, and you don't want to be that. I don't think most of you want to be that person on the other side that causes somebody to feel that way for a few moments of gratification.
Yeah.
So just be careful, especially now where we've become a little less socialized in the last little bit because of COVID.
Keep it in your pants.
Keep it in your pants until there's a clear invitation.
Until there's a clear
Yeah.
invitation.
No means no. Not is yes. Over me, put my head over this way means come over here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even
And
think.
this means Lady Gaga.
This means Vogue. Slay, pose.
I don't even think necessarily necessarily means no. Because no means no. But also watch out if the person is into the situation. Because it's another thing for somebody to say no, but there's somebody who might be uncomfortable with the situation and is not ready.
So no means no, but no isn't the only thing that means no.
Yeah, there you go.
There are other things that also mean no.
Look for the body
Language.
Be the body language.
Let's look for the body language. If somebody's not into it, just politely walk away, and that'll be the end of it. But yeah, because I like I said, I don't think most people want people to feel that way. All right, I think that's a good place to end it. What do you think?
I think that's a good place to end it.
Done and dusted.
All right, so If you watched last week's video, we actually have a new clip to add in because somebody went back and actually got POV footage on the roller coaster, so we're going to throw that into the video.
I've not been able to do the past couple, so I've not played in a
Oh,
while.
there's a clip you need to see.
Oh god.
There's literally a whole game where the killer. Aww.
Oh! Can you get in? Hey! Yay! I think I might be a fan. Ed, maybe? That's what it sounds like. Sounds like a fan.
Ed, you keeping cool?
Oh, I'm keeping cool, alright.
There we go.
Oh, this is... you lucky fucking bitch!
Oh my
We
god!
got all the work for those too. We got all those generators and you just got thrown into it.
Home, thank you, Link. You brighten my day. Come over here and let me pay you. Okay, somebody should clip that. Ho ho ho. Does this one? Oh. We're gonna put the blowing machine away.
Otherwise, Twitch is kind of going back onto a regular schedule. No, we're not doing the live fisting Twitch, Greg. No.
Point of view footage.
Point of. Ugh. All right, but yeah, so we're back to Mondays, Wednesdays, and a weekend stream. Got pretty much going up and on forward into winter time.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. I think that's good. Everyone, have yourselves a wonderful week.
Bye.